Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here with us today. We are going to be talking today about college planning for families with special care healthcare needs student. So before Allison start with the presentation, we are going to talk about a little bit about Partner Resource Network. Welcome again. So Partner Resource Network is a parent training and information centers for Texas. We are funded by the Department of Education, specifically the Office of Special Education, to provide free resources and training for parents of children with disabilities and self-advocates. Our mission is to empower and support Texas families and individuals impacted with disabilities or special healthcare needs. So who we serve? Parents of children with disabilities and youth with disabilities from the ages of 0 to 26. And Partner Resource Network was first funded in 1986 and now is comprised by 4 projects. I'm in Region 13. My name is Veronica Alvarez, so I'm part of the team project. As you can see in the red area, Region 13 is the Austin and surrounding areas. Another part of team project is San Antonio, Texas, that's Region 20. And then we have the Region 1, that is the Rio Grande Valley area from Brownsville to Laredo. So all that area is team project. But, you know, we have 20 coordinators across Texas serving parents. If you don't know your regional coordinator, just reach out to me. I can send you the information of the regional coordinator that can help you locally in your area. Our services are free, and we do parent workshops, webinars, information and referrals, one-on-one technical assistance. We do a lot of support in the R meetings, and we help you guys with the IEP. Once a year, we do an annual symposium. We also provide parent leadership training and youth leadership trainings. So for today, if you have questions, please type it in the chat box in the Q&A. Your microphone is off and your video is off. And today we are recording this session. Later on, we are going to put the recording in our Facebook pages. And also Allison with Consolidated Planning Group has a YouTube channel, and she has all these presentations there. She had the information of the YouTube channel on the chat box. At the end of this presentation and this session, you are going to receive a link with a survey that to evaluate this presentation and information that you are receiving. We appreciate if you can fill that information and provide us with your honest feedback. With that, we report to a grant and continue giving you guys free services. We do not provide CEUs, but if you need a certificate of attendance, I can provide you with one of those. Just type it in the chat box and I can send you a certificate of attendance. So again, my name is Veronica Alvarez, and there is my contact information, my phone number, my email. I also type it in the chat box if you need it, and if you need any questions or need help with anything, please reach out. And please visit our main webpage. The Partner Resource Network is www.prntexas.org. And we have a lot of information about disabilities, special education, and all related to special healthcare needs. All right, so that's the information I have for you guys. I'm going to stop that. So we are ready for Allison. So again, we have Allison Schaberg with us with Consolidated Planning Group. She's a passionate advocate for the special healthcare community. She's also, she's a professional, she's a financial planner with over 25 years experience working with families with disabilities. with children with disabilities and youth with disabilities. But she also is a parent. She's a parent of 2 children with disabilities. So she's has a lot of knowledge talking to us about this important topic, college planning for special needs families. So welcome, Allison.
Veronica, thank you. Thank you for having us back. It's a pleasure to partner with you and Partners Resource Network as always, and thanks for always providing such awesome information to the families that you serve. So Allison Schaberg here with Consolidated Planning Group. If you're joining us for the first time, we're glad you're here. If you are a serial attender, we're glad you're back. So today we are talking, there's a lot of subjects, I'm going to admit this, that are pretty near and dear to my heart. I'm pretty passionate about this one. And so as she said, I'm a mom to 4. 2 of the 4 have special needs. And I've got 1 child that is transitioning into adulthood right now. I know. I still can't believe I'm speaking that out loud. Like we're like really at that point in her life. But and then I have another child that has already transitioned into adulthood. So I share your journey, and I like to think of it as the relentless pursuit of information and knowledge. Right? It's like as parents, we always want what's best for our kids. And sometimes we don't always know all of these things when we're dealing with special needs and things like that. And it's oftentimes we're dealing with uncharted territory. Well, if you have had kids that have already gone to college, neurotypical kids, then you already know the madness that ensues when you start this process of searching for the right college for your student. So and so it is, I would explain that process of being utter in pure madness, that junior and senior year of high school for the neurotypical kid. But I would say that when we start this process for our kids with special needs, I would explain the process as on steroids comparatively, right? And so this is something. So first things first, one thing that I want to say is that as you're starting this process, your child, whether special needs or neurotypical, they need you in this process. This is, it's not for the faint of heart, and you got to get organized. And I hate to put it out there, it's just the first 5 minutes of the presentation, that start your spreadsheet, right? And so when you're starting this college planning process and thinking about what colleges or what programs or transition programs or what might be the right fit for your student, one of the very first things that you have to know is that colleges, universities, community colleges, none of them are created equally. They don't all follow the same rules. You don't apply the same way. Their application deadlines and start dates are not the same. Their offices of disability, our offices of disability aren't created equally. We're going to talk more about that. So having this spreadsheet, and if you're not a spreadsheet, person, a good notebook where you're keeping track of all of the different information is a really good place to start, and keeping things organized. I suggest a spreadsheet because of the fact that deadlines are different. Dates open up differently and things like that, and trying to keep up with those deadlines is an important part of the process if you plan to be applying to multiple schools. So the first things first that we like to talk about is realistic expectations. I do talk about that a lot in our presentations, and have had to set realistic expectations for myself in evaluating what was the right fit for our kids. We want you to keep an open mind and consider all the options. And also, what we see with a lot of our kids with disabilities at age 18, some of them just aren't quite there yet. They're not there yet. They're not ready. Maybe they have maturity issues. Maybe they have issues where, ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, maybe their maturity is 2 to 4 years behind their peers. Maybe their level of social skills is not matched to be, going in person to the university or what have you. But so I like to spend time saying that there is no comparisons. They aren't behind. They are where they are. And when I speak that, I'm speaking to other mamas. I'm speaking to myself because, those comparisons start early when our kids are small. Well, when did he walk? When did he sit up? When did he eat? I mean, you get married and you're at your wedding and people are asking when you're going to have a baby. You have a baby, you're at the hospital and they're asking you when you're going to have another one. These comparisons and these, the expectations of what the right path is, it's a pretty unfair box to put ourselves in as parents, and it's a pretty unfair box to put our kids in with disabilities. For them to really feel like they're behind. They are where they are. They're not behind. There are a lot of special needs kids that at age 18, 19, 20, 21, they weren't there yet. They weren't ready for the university or what the university had. But you know what? A lot of them did graduate at 25, 26, 28, 29, 30 years old with 4-year degrees. Or I know a lot of people with significant disabilities that have MBAs. So it doesn't mean, if it means not now, it doesn't mean not ever, is I guess what I wanted to share. So a traditional path versus a non-traditional path, things to be looking at are transition programs. We've got 18 plus programs with the public school. You would be having conversations with your, in your ARD, in your IEP meetings, if you're planning for your student to move into an 18 plus program or stay in the public high school past age 18. There are trade schools, community college, university degree programs, there's certificate programs and licenses. We can think about a reduced college course load. 12 hours is not always a good fit for our kids with disability. It is okay to start. You could maybe start in high school doing a dual credit course, maybe doing one. If that time has passed, that ship has sailed. Think about, enrolling at the community college. All community colleges have a class, and forgive me for not knowing the exact name of it. They probably call it different things at different places, but it's basically a class of how to be a college student and how to succeed at college. That might be a good, dip your toe in the water to see, how this goes and how this is going to go, instead of jumping in with, full gear and jumping into 12 hours if you think that might be a stretch for your loved one. Think about living at home versus on campus. There's partnerships with other organizations to live on campus. We're going to talk about some of those. Maybe the path right now is to go to work or learn some vocational training, maybe, partnering with the Texas Workforce Commission and Vocational Rehab or various programs. Some are earn and learn and things like that. We have webinars on those topics. We'll talk more about that, but maybe that's the path. So, a career path, ideal work settings. There are also registered internships apprenticeships for kids with disabilities that are, really good programs. They're nationally registered. So that's something else that you can check into. As well, if this, regular university path or college path is not the exact path for your student at this time. So some of this, and this is not an extensive list, we're going to, later today, when we put out this email with the recording, you are going to get a copy of today's slides in a PDF. We have a lot of links in today's slides for scholarships and other things to consider. So if you're taking, crazy notes right now, you don't have to, because you're totally getting these slides with all the links. But these are some post-high school options for special needs day and transition programs. So if you're thinking about a transition program that might be outside of the high school, these are some that we know about that might be worth checking into. There are transition and day programs all across the state of Texas. This is, again, not an extensive list. We do actually have a spreadsheet of some different programs that are all over the state. So if you're interested in that, we're certainly happy to send that out to you. We don't work for any of these people. They don't work for us. We're just aware of their programs. Their programs are good in their own right, and they may or may not be a fit for for your family, but they have good websites that you can check out and see, if they fit the criteria that you're looking for. So we're just putting here, we're fully aware that today's presentation is about college planning, but just in case, if there are some, from some timelines or delays that you think that may happen and kind of getting there, we just wanted you to have that at your fingertips. Veronica, do we have any questions so far before I move on?
Yes, we have a question in the Q&A, and they are asking about, as dual credit has progressed, are there more options? It continued. Previously was designed as one size fits all, so it was either do all the required or it was not offered for them. Has it changed? Also, can homeschool do dual credit? So it's 3 questions in one.
Okay, yeah, those are all good questions. And so I am a long-term homeschool family. So my oldest kid went to public school to the 3rd grade, and then she was homeschooled ever since, and we hired somebody to come in. And then the baby went to public school in kindergarten and was homeschooled ever since. So we do have a lot of experience in that. And yes, there are wonderful dual credit options for your students all across the state with the community college. And also those dual credit options with the community colleges in the state of Texas transfer to basically all of the state schools in Texas. Now, for your engineer brain autistic kids, I do want to say that you should know that there are some math and science credits with the community college that will not transfer to A&M or to UT. So just know that, but basically all these other courses are going to transfer. I know like Houston Community College, for instance, had programs in place for dual credit, and it was basically free. All you had to do was pay for your books, and you could take an unlimited number of courses. So one of my kids graduated high school with almost 30 college credits because we really took advantage of that dual credit program. So they are out there. Check with your local community college. Most of these local community colleges have a dual credit liaison, and if you're homeschooling, they usually have a specific person that works with the homeschool community. And if you're a member of any of the homeschool Facebook groups or little homeschool groups that you belong to, you can also pose that question in there because there's usually veteran moms in there that know all about it. And sometimes even the liaison for the community college might be even in the group. So definitely check that out. It's worth looking at it. And is it better? Is it worse? We did dual credit with both of the kids with disabilities, and it was okay. It was okay, and we got the credit, and somehow we didn't fail any courses. So yay for that. And we had accommodations, and I'm getting ready to talk about accommodations. So our kids need accommodations, and that's where I was talking about that, offices of disability are not created equally. So we're going to talk about that. So this is real important. So some of the things to think about: 6 traits students with learning disabilities need to succeed. And I want you to look at this: self-awareness, proactivity, perseverance, goal setting, presence and use of effective social support systems, emotional coping strategies. Ask yourself, does your child hit these? Okay, because what we know is these are necessary for a child to survive. And this is actually something that you can Google. There's a lot of good information out there of, traits that kids need to have to succeed in college that you can read more about and really, for lack of a better word, size your child up to see if they hit those marks. Because if they don't, again, they're not behind, but if they don't hit those marks of being college ready, maybe those are just some areas of development that you can work on between now and when they are going to go to college. So that, because I think that the key is, this is where I'm talking about they're not behind. It's about meeting them where they are and getting them ready. So if they're not ready, it's okay. But what are those deficits that are in the way of them being ready or becoming ready, and let's focus on our efforts on those deficits, and how we can give them the tools and resources, the time that they need to grow in some of their skills in those areas. Because I think what we don't want to do, what I didn't want to do, is set my kids up for failure. Okay, if we're putting them in a situation that they simply can't succeed in, we've had enough failures. As our kids with disabilities and feeling different and feeling less than and going through adolescence, which is hard for any kid, but especially hard for a kid that perceives themselves as different as others from others. So I think I think that self-esteem piece is so important. So accommodations and offices of disability. So on the college level, so I've said it once and I'm going to say it again, and if you're taking notes, write this down. Offices of disability are not created equally. Every school has an office of disability. Some are very, very robust with lots of tools and resources and really, really super qualified staff. And others are much smaller with smaller budgets and less tools and resources that might be necessary for your student. Okay. So as you're making your spreadsheet of colleges or universities that you're considering, the way I did it is I said, number one, what is the major that my child is interested in or would be best suited for? Then I did a research of the schools in Texas that had that particular major. So they went on the list. And then the very next thing I did is I started interviewing and reviewing offices of disability and started eliminating schools that had well-known poor offices of disability, okay? Because I knew from our perspective, my student needed accommodations, and I knew exactly what those accommodations were. I knew we needed audio books. I knew we needed voice-to-text recognition software. I knew we needed extra time. There was a lot of things that I knew that we needed. And I know very well that I can purchase that myself if I want to. But when you're paying so much for a student to go to a university, I expect them to provide some of those things. So do your homework. Do your homework early. What you need to know is having a copy of your IEP or your 504 for the public school system. That's fine, but basically, just because you had an IEP or a 504 or accommodations in the public school does not mean that your student is going to get them in on the university level. They don't just take your IEP or your 504 and just implement those accommodations on the university level. Most colleges are requesting updated testing in the last 3 to 5 years. Okay, testing. Learning disability testing, neuropsyc testing, anything that is proving processing speed delays, working memory issues, intellectual disabilities, the alphabet soup that we all circle, okay? So we need proof of that, and they want to see that within the last 3 to 5 years. Now, one thing that is worth checking on before you spend $3,500 to $5,000 on neuropsyc testing is checking with each of those universities' Office of Disability and looking on their website and seeing what they require. We have seen a lot of the requirements not be lifted, but we've seen a lot of them be relaxed due to the last 2 years that we've been living in this pandemic. Because neuropsych testing has been harder to get, there's been longer waiting periods to get the testing done, longer waiting periods to get the testing back. But so if you've got a kid that's transitioning, you've got a kid that's a freshman or sophomore in high school, get this testing done, have it. Don't be waiting senior year or right before they're about to go to college and wondering if you're going to have the results back yet in time so they can get their accommodations. So let's talk about SAT and ACT. There's AP exams, college course, graduate level exams. Main thing I want to talk about is the SAT and the ACT. The SAT and the ACT used to be the be-all, end-all for everything and everywhere, and non-negotiable, and you must test. And most of these colleges have on their website. And again, colleges are not created equally. There's scores that they require for college. For each of these colleges are different. Okay. Because of COVID, a lot of schools have gone to test optional as opposed to test mandatory. So we see a lot of families with kids with disabilities that have severe test anxiety. So if that is your kid and you know they're not going to test well and you're looking at schools with test optional, I mean, just take that into consideration. But SAT and ACT have accommodations available for their testing. So if you want to get those accommodations, SAT is thecollegeboard.org, and in the search bar in that website, and Veronica, you could put that in the chat box, thecollegeboard.org. The
Sure.
search box is going to be disability services, and it's going to take you to the page where you can download the forms to request accommodations, and then it's going to tell you exactly what you need, what you have to send in, and what you have to prove. And same thing, ACT has their own website. And again, if you go in and type in disability services, it's going to take you to the same place and you can download their forms. You need to allow enough time prior to the test to get these accommodations. And I would suggest that you allow yourself 12 weeks to get these accommodations. If you homeschool, you can get these yourself. If you homeschool, you can contact your county, your local high school that your kids would be zoned to, and they have a coordinator there that can also help you request accommodations, and you can schedule your test at the local school. If your child is in public school, again, they do have a person there at the school that you can reach out to, and that they will work with you in helping you get these accommodations. Okay, Veronica, do we have a question?
We have some questions in the chat box. I already put there the collegeboard.org link. And the question that we have, what is the neuropsychological testing needed for? Who performs the testing? My 17-year-old student has never had that done. Will you be covering TPSID programs today?
Who ISD?
TPSID. I don't know what is that.
We don't really get into the specific programs in an ISD for like transition programs, but we do have a list of local transition programs that are not connected to the ISD. So the neuropsych testing, thanks, that's a great question. The neuropsych testing you can have done, usually a psychologist or a psychiatrist office usually has a testing person within their office. So if your kids are getting any psychological services or psychiatry services, that's a good place to start asking. Some of the children's hospitals also do neuropsych testing, and there is a whole bunch of stuff that goes into neuropsych testing and the disability stuff. They do the WISC and the Wechsler, and there's IQ testing that is involved in that, and it's very, very comprehensive. Usually, your health insurance is not going to cover that unless the child has a diagnosis that they would cover. Like my daughter had one kid had a diagnosis that my insurance would actually cover the testing, which was great. But there's other places that you can get this testing done. Typically, now I have heard of some people saying that their school district has done this testing. I want to just tell you, if that's your district, you're lucky. Good for you. And don't let the secret out, I guess, because most districts don't go into that level of detail of that testing. Another place, so one place that you can get free testing, it could be your local intellectual disability authority. Your local intellectual disability authority, it's by county. So whatever county you live in, there's a local authority for your county. And there's a county locator, maybe Veronica, you could look this up. It's a LIDA locator or local intellectual disability. And maybe you could put that in the chat box, because basically you can put your zip code in and it's going to tell you who your local authority is. And if you have a kid with intellectual disabilities,
yes.
They do a lot of testing, so you can check them out, get your kid plugged in to your local authority and find out what testing may be available through their services, and again, it could be free. Another place that you may want to consider, and we talked about this and we're going to talk about it in a moment, is vocational rehab. Our kids with disability are eligible from 14 to 22 for vocational rehab through the Texas Workforce Commission. And then we've got Workforce Solutions that has the pre-ETS, the pre-employment training services. They also have summer earn and learn programs. These are things that you may have heard of before. But when you go into vocational rehab and your student is accepted, and again, there's usually a liaison at the public school for vocational rehab. They may or may not be good, but there are local liaisons through the commission that you can reach out to if you're not having success at your school. And again, if your kids are homeschooled, there's a local liaison for all of these programs. And we do have webinars on this, multiple webinars on these programs on our YouTube channel, so check this out. But having said that, going back to this vocational rehab, you know, once a young person goes into the program, you know, they're going to put an IPE in place, and in order to put like this plan in place, if you will, they need to assess the student. And a lot of times, and I'm not telling you without fail, this is what's going to happen, because it's a case-by-case basis, and they work with you one-on-one, and it depends on what the kids, you know, deficits may be or whatever. But a lot of times, the initial assessments for the vocational rehab program include neuropsych testing. They may include a vocational evaluation, and these tests are very expensive, and they're covered by that program. So if your child's in this program, you may have already had some of this testing done. This testing may be done in order to put the plan in place for competitive employment. So don't close your eyes to those things. I guess is what I'm saying. If you don't necessarily have or want to drop $3,500 to $5,000 for this testing, think outside of the box. Okay, what else do we have on that question?
We have the definition that they were asking about if you are covering that program, and I think you are going to be talking about that. The transitional program for students with intellectual disabilities. They are college-like program with students with ID. So you are going to be talking about this, right?
So I think what we're going to do, I'm not going to go deep and wide on that, but what I am going to do for the people that signed up for today, we will send, so we're sending today's slides. We're also going to send an attachment with very specific college programs that we're aware of specifically for kids with special needs. And we will also send a spreadsheet that we have that we're aware of transition programs out there. Again, they're not with the public school. They're in the communities across the state of Texas. So we'll put that in the email that goes out today as well. Okay. So, and Veronica, are we okay with questions? Otherwise, is it okay for me to move on? Okay.
Sorry,
so,
yes, you can move on. I'm just searching for the links to put in the chat box.
Certainly, thank you. Sorry for putting you on your toes on all these links today. So in-state educational options post-high school. So, you know, there's a lot of programs out there. There are four-year programs. There are programs, certificate programs, hospitality industry, could be automotive. It could be, I mean, it could be anything. It could be a license. It could be, so it just depends on, you know, where your child is and kind of what their diagnoses are and what the programs out there, and they may, you know, be a good fit for them. The other attachment that we're going to send to you today in that email is going to have a little bit more details on some of these programs. So here's what you need to know, and this is going back to your spreadsheet that I told you to create. All of these programs don't have unlimited enrollment. Okay, so we've heard the early bird gets the worm, right? So know your deadlines. Know how many spots they have available. Ask the questions. Are they meeting in person? Are they meeting virtually? Some programs went virtually. Some programs are back in session. If you know your student can't function virtually, then maybe you got to look for the face-to-face programs. So ask the questions, know when the applications open up, know how many seats they have, and get your application in early. So there's just a lot of programs, again, all across the state of Texas that are worth looking at. And some of them are on here. and they may not have a specific program for kids with special needs, but they have a great Office of Disability. And a lot of programs, a lot of schools, Texas A&M and UT, they have multiple programs. There's some new programs. The UNTYs, there's some, I think there's a new program out at UNT, but there are a lot of programs out there. So don't think that college is not an option for your child. Non-Perel Institute is in Houston. It's not a college. It's kind of like a computer programming program. It's pretty good, and we hear good reviews on that. So I just wanted to put that out there. Another thing is, as far as out of state, Lynn University, there's a place in Florida. Lynn University is well known for working well with kids with special needs. And I don't spend a lot of time going over the out of state ones because I'm going to give you an information for a consultant that really focuses on finding the right college for a kid with disability, and she's aware of the programs all throughout the U.S., not just in Texas, but a lot of the families that we talk to are certainly not ready for their kids to go out of state. All right, so one of the places that you can look at for the out-of-state directories is Think College. It's got 309 universities that offer post-secondary education programs for kids with disabilities. So that's a website that you can look at for free. And we've got this lady here, and I think we have a webinar on our YouTube channel here, Jody Glau. She's an independent educational consultant, and she focuses on working with students that have learning challenges or learn differently. So she's really good. She's not in Texas, but she serves people all across the United States. So if you're a family and you simply want to hire a consultant that knows what she's doing, she goes in, boots on the ground. She tours these places. She knows, she knows where the bodies are buried. She knows what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. And I think she's a real good person to have on your side if you're interested in hiring a consultant to look at this. And if you're wondering about prices on consultants and things like that, I think that you would probably, in general, the range for hiring a consultant, a college consultant, is anywhere from $3,500 to about $8,000. So that's kind of the generalized range. CLE is a college living experience. So this provides individual post-secondary guidance and instruction, academics and career development, independent living skills, and social development. So they have one of these near A&M and forgive me, maybe it's Blinn, the community college out there. But so basically your students live here. Now, it's not cheap. So you would have this expense in addition to your college tuition. If they're going to the community college or if they're going to the university, you would have this as well. But this is an awesome program. It is, they live there, they're growing their independent school skills. So they're kind of, they're breaking away from mom and dad. Maybe they're taking a couple of classes in community college. They might be working at first, whatever they may be. But we've definitely had a lot of families that have had success with the college living experience. So check that out. And so they do have locations in Texas, but they also do have other locations throughout the United States. So if you guys have family in other states and in other places that you might be considering, you can check out their other locations as well. Bloom Consulting, they have a campus connection program. We love Bloom. Bloom is also a vendor that oftentimes that vocational rehab they'll use. They have a lot of different services as far as, private pay. And again, if you're in VR, it might be covered through VR as far as vocational evaluations and assessments for your student to see where they are and where they're going and what are the deficits, what are the gaps and things like that. So they're really good at that. But they have a campus connection program, which is basically a wraparound program. And they are kind of the mentor and to your student. They have connection coaches. They provide mentoring and guidance, navigational support. So this is this allows a parent to take a step back, because, you know, I always joke and say, I don't know about your house, but my teenagers don't think I'm as smart as they used to when they were little. Anyway, but if that's your case, this allows you to take a step back a little bit, and it promotes them, you know, empowerment and solving their concerns effectively and efficiently, and really self-advocacy. And this program is cheap. At $1,000 per month, at $12,000 per year. So this wraparound program, when I say it's cheap, it's cheaper than other programs that we know about, and it's good. And what we do know is they have a good office. I mean, they have a good relationship with Sam Houston State University, and I happen to know that Sam Houston State University has a great Office of Disabilities. So I would just like to share that as well. Okay, Veronica, we got some questions.
Yes, we have some questions. What exactly do vocational rehabilitation assess with children that start at 14 years old? TWC.
Okay, so and I think we've got some information on here. And so again, the TWC and the Workforce Commission, we do have complete webinars on our YouTube channel that you can go back and watch, and they kind of talk about the different programs that are out there. So you've got Workforce Solutions, you got the Texas Workforce Commission, and so we've got the pre-ETS, which is the pre-employment training services for individuals with disabilities. Okay, so that's the Workforce Solutions side. Then when you go over to the to TWC, you've got Vocational Rehab, and again, these are services 14 to 22. So a 14-year-old isn't old enough to work. And that's okay, but because they can start those services at 14 and identify what those deficits are, what are the impediments to employment, what is going to get in the way of this student being employed. That's what they assess. And then they put a specific program in place for your student to close those gaps. So maybe they will be ready. Maybe it's 16, maybe it's 17, who knows when it is, but they're ready to go to work, but they're there to help close that gap. Anna Kluth is a student hireability navigator. This is one. So basically what you can do, you can go to the Texas Workforce Commission website, and in there, in the right-hand corner, there is a button that you can click that says "Start My VR," and then you can fill in your information, and they will contact you. But again, you can contact your liaison at the public school. There's a lot of different things, and if you can find that Workforce Commission link with the Start My VR
just
and put that in there.
The TWC locator, then where you put your zip code or your address, and it pop-ups the information of the office near you, and you can call or also the website. But usually the school, if your student is still at school, your child is still at school, you can ask and see who is your TWC liaison, because each student has, had one. So if you don't know which one is it, you can ask the school. If not, you can talk to your local office and find out who that person is.
And I would just like to say that Anna Kluth is awesome. And I know we have Anna Holderberg on here today, so thank you for being with us. But Anna Kluth worked with another gentleman, and they put this spreadsheet together, and it's really awesome. And it basically talks about the different lines of work out there and what is needed to be able to work in this line of work. It talks about what is the income potential, what is the degree needed or certificate needed or whatever. So you guys may want to reach out to her about that, because we definitely saw that. It's probably been updated. I do have a copy of this, but it's probably been updated, but it is really good. So if you're exploring, career ideas with your student and what might be a good fit for them, this spreadsheet might be something good to play around with, and understanding, what is the money possibility, how much work do I have to do to get to this job? How many jobs are out there in this particular field, that kind of thing. So it's a lot of good information. My experience with my kids has been great. with with these services. And the thing is there is a lot of help out there. It's some of it you just got to go out and get, right? And but one thing that you will learn is that your student has to be willing to participate in this. It's not just mama wants this for little Johnny. If Johnny is like adversarial about this, your student has to participate and has to do, you know, kind of the things that they have to do. But so check out that webinar. And what additional questions do we have?
They're asking about the power of attorney piece. If you go back to the slide of the power of attorney.
Oh yes, let's see if I can get back. You know what? The power of attorney. I'm glad that somebody brought that up because I didn't want to miss that. One of the things that I wanted to let you know is that you need to have a power of attorney. I believe it's a good idea to have a healthcare power of attorney and a power of attorney that it at minimum gets exercised in the event that your 18-year-old is incapacitated. I don't care if they have a disability or if they're neurotypical. When you send your child off to college, it is a very, very good idea to have a healthcare power of attorney and power of attorney. If your child has a mental health crisis and they're in the mental health hospital and you don't have these documents, guess what? Nobody's talking to you. No one. Your child gets in an accident on the way home from college. I mean, these things are big. That's a big deal. So power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney. But guess what? There is something at the college level that's called FERPA. FERPA, put that in the chat box, FERPA. A FERPA form is necessary. So even though you pay all of the fees that you pay to the college for your child to go to college, and certainly you want to know information about their grades or whatever things are going on, or maybe you need to talk to the Office of Disability, if your child is 18 and there is no FERPA on file, they're not talking to you. So mark that down on your list of things to do if that is important to you, if that's something that you need. Some parents don't want a FERPA on file. They don't care. They want their child to have independence. A lot of the families that we serve, their kids need help, right? So the FERPA is necessary, and I don't ever get in debates of what's right or wrong. But I do believe the power of attorney and the healthcare power of attorney is right for all kids that turn 18 that are going away to college. But just know about the FERPA. So a power of attorney and a healthcare power of attorney, we refer to attorneys all the time to get these done. Honestly, I'm not a fan of do-it-yourselfer legal work. I'm not a fan of that at all, especially for special needs trust or guardianship and things like that. You got to work with a special needs attorney. But a power of attorney and a healthcare power of attorney, you could download that from the internet. That is something that you could download and get notarized. So it's up to you. But we make referrals all the time. We have referral partners of attorneys that work with special needs families all across the state of Texas. So we're happy to make a referral. And while we're on it, we're not talking about it, but honestly, while you're at it, check yourself. Do you have a will and a trust? When's the last time it's been updated? Have you looked at it? Is it something that's been on your radar that you're going to get done, but you haven't got done yet? These are all things that you may want to get back on your radar in the spirit of COVID and how we're living. And we've all known somebody that has died from COVID unexpectedly. It wasn't the plan or whatever. Telling yourself and writing this down, I'm going to get this done. I've been saying I'm going to do the will.
Allison, is a FERPA needed if you already have a power of attorney? Is a FERPA needed if you have a power of attorney or not?
I think the FERPA is needed anyway. So if you already have, I think, I'm trying to remember, but I think it's because of the educational part of things. So I think the FERPA is needed anyway. Sometimes they'll take, again, all colleges are not created equally. So one office might say, yeah, we'll take your power of attorney. And the next one will say, no, we're not taking it at all. I think it's best to just have the FERPA on file. But just know that when your student signs that FERPA, if you ever make your student mad and they want to revoke the FERPA, the power of attorney, or the healthcare power of attorney, they have the right to revoke those documents at any moment. And there's nothing you can do about it. Sorry. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, we have just one last question about evaluations. Oh, well, it's just someone it was telling us that an evaluation through the local district is not in-depth enough. Then you can request an IE, a public expense that will be done, through. It was just a comment.
Okay. Yes, and yeah, I think. you can request, more comprehensive things. I mean, I think that is definitely a real thing, whether or not they do them or not. They may or they may not. And if you're making requests to the public school, we always do recommend that you make those requests in writing. I don't mean like you have to handwrite a note and walk it in there, but in writing as opposed to a phone call. So an email or something like that, we definitely do recommend that. Okay, so the next stuff, and we're running out of time, but the next things that we're going to talk about is funding. What about funding? So the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, it's available each year on October 1st for the following school year. So complete this year, complete this every year, even if you think that you make too much money. Okay, so once your child, so basically when do you complete this? So if your child is going to be they're a senior in high school and they're going to college in the fall, if they're a senior, so school started in August, the FAFSA opened up October 1st, you can go ahead and do the FAFSA now if they're going to be going, if they're already, you can already be doing it. The bottom line is so the FAFSA needs to be done. We hear all the time, we make too much money, so we're not doing it. So most of the families that we serve fall into that category, but most of the scholarships out there require the FAFSA. So if you don't do the FAFSA, you're shooting yourself in the foot for any scholarships out there. So scholarships, that's a whole spreadsheet in itself. There are community-based, school-based, disability-based, disease-based, sport, music, band, you name it, there's scholarships out there. So honestly, what I can say is that, so I was kind of a student of all of this and figured this all out for my daughter. She was a freshman in high school, and I thought, okay, well, she's not going to be in the top 10% of her class. We don't play, we don't do band or sports or any of these other things of scholarships. How are we going to get a scholarship? We want a scholarship. And so I really researched about scholarships of, giving back and community service and community hours and things like that. And what I will tell you is that my older daughter will be graduating from college in May of this year on time. And she went to school on a full ride scholarship, and she's not a genius. She wasn't the top 10% of her class. She did well. She had decent grades. She had average to below average test scores. From a SAT, ACT, but what she had was 900 service hours. Okay, so she actually qualified for like 12 scholarships, for which most of them were given back because she was fully funded by one, and I'm going to talk to you about that. So research early, know your deadlines. They're all different. 529 college savings plan can pay for college. A 529A ABLE account can pay for college. So if you have a 529, you can convert a 529 to an ABLE account, $16,000 a year. The cool thing about an ABLE account is for achieving a better life for an individual with a disability. And the bottom line is if it can be construed as achieving a better life for a person with a disability, it can be paid for out of an ABLE account, and the account grows tax-free. There's no penalties for distributions as long as it's a qualified expense. In an ABLE account, you can pay for college, you can pay for tutoring, you can pay for private school, and you can pay for a myriad of other things that are construed as achieving a better life for an individual with disability. Okay, we've talked about vocational rehab many, many times. It's possible, if it's part of your plan, that there might be support if it's in line with the goals established within the plan for your loved one to find competitive employment. Now, there are income requirements and things like that. In that example, there may be, if you make, a ton of money, there might not be, money. There's a formula that they have. They plug it into the computer to see if they can provide support. But sometimes there is support for college through VR. So it's worth checking out. What about scholarships? Okay, first things first, one thing I want to tell you is if you adopted a child in the state of Texas, through the state of Texas, like the foster program or whatever, your child goes to school for free in Texas. So you might want to check that out, and there's the website for that. And so here, we also want to talk to you. There are a lot of scholarships out there that your child life specialist knows about at the Children's Hospital. So, you know, Texas Children's, Baylor College of Medicine, there's hospitals all across the state and children's hospitals. Ask your child life specialist who you see on a regular basis for your disability. And here are just some other websites. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them. We just put the links in here so you can check those out and see if your student might qualify for them. Think about disease-specific scholarships, and we've got a whole bunch of them out there in our next slides. The Terry Foundation Scholarship is an awesome scholarship. They're the largest scholarship foundation that runs in perpetuity in the United States, and they're actually based out of Houston. These are for Texas kids, for Texas schools. The list of schools is on the right-hand side, and basically what they're looking for, that your loved one must demonstrate these criteria: leadership, potential, and character, scholastic record and ability, and financial need. They may not even have financial need, but they have leadership and character. Your child has a story. They have a story of overcoming. Whatever your story is, did your house flood in Harvey? Do you, has your student lost a loved one, a parent? Has their diagnoses really caused a lot of havoc in their life, but they have rose above and overcome these things? Your child has a powerful story. Tell the story. So the cool thing about this is you don't just apply once at the Terry Scholarship. Each of these schools on the right-hand side have scholarships that you can apply for. So if you applied for all of these schools and you applied for the Terry Scholarship, you have that many chances to get it. This Terry Foundation Scholarship is fully funded. So if your child gets this scholarship, they're fully funded for college. It is an amazing scholarship and definitely worth checking out. So I'm just running through these really quick. So we just have a list, and it's not an all exhaustive list here of various scholarships for various diagnoses that some of you may be facing. But if you can think it up, there's a scholarship for it. There's even scholarships for kids that are siblings of kids with disabilities. Okay, so just check it out. And so what I would say is choose wisely. So some people say, okay, I don't care. We already saved up for college. We don't care about this. We just want to spend the money that we saved up for college, and that's fine. Other people say, I don't want to do all this because it just takes so much time. This is where your child needs you. They need help with these scholarship applications. Your FAFSA. Don't just tell your kid to do the FAFSA. They can't. They need access to your tax returns and all these types of things. But these scholarship applications, here's the shocking thing. I was so shocked whenever I went through this with my kid. A lot of these scholarship applications open up the fall that your child is a senior in high school, and they close December 1st to December 15th, the year that your child is a senior in high school. So for all you parents out there that are thinking that on Christmas break, you guys are going to work on scholarship applications, guess what? You've missed a lot of the deadlines. So again, check early, put your deadlines on the spreadsheet, check it all out, and so that way you don't miss them. Some of the things that I've seen is that some of these scholarships are only offering small amounts, like $500, and I'm not being rude or anything, but some of their applications to get $500 are as long and ridiculous as a full ride scholarship. So choose wisely. If you don't have a lot of extra time on your hand, choose the scholarships that maybe are going to pay $10,000, $20,000, a full ride, a significant amount that is really going to chip away at the overall cost of the university for your kids. So again, there's just pages and pages of links and scholarships that you can look at. Books to consider: Colleges That Change Lives. They're really known for colleges that make a difference for kids with disabilities, so that might be something that you want to check out. And then Fifth Guide to Colleges for 2022, you can check that out. And you can buy both of these on Amazon. So if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you're not hiring a consultant, you got options there. Okay, so we have come to the end of our webinar today. And because Consolidated Planning Group is a holistic special needs financial planning firm, all of our topics and our Zoom topics are always really related to special needs: SSI, Medicaid, special needs trust, guardianship, powers of attorney, all of these things. so we've talked a lot about college today, and we've kind of touched the tip of the iceberg on other topics that are relevant to you and your family and your journey. But these are some things that should be on your special needs planning radar. So just, take a look and see where you are in your journey, and we can certainly help. We are nationally certified as Social Security advisors. I work on a collaborative team. It's not just me here, so I always like to share the members of our team. And we always offer free initial consultations. So should you have needs, should you have questions, specific questions that you didn't ask today or that are personal, we can certainly help. If you're trying to develop a future care plan for your loved one who may have care needs for the rest of their life, we can help develop those numbers. And when you're thinking about applying for SSI and Medicaid because your child is turning 18, we can help with that. So check out our YouTube channel. We talked about it a few times. You can take out your camera, take a picture of the QR code, and it'll take you to our calendar link. Should you want to schedule something with us, you can do it yourself for your calendar that works best for you. And having said that, it's been a pleasure being here. I'd like to open it up to any other questions, and thank you, Veronica, for having us.
Thank you, thank you. We just need one more question. What is the scholarship for siblings? I think you already put a link in there.
There might be a link in there, but basically you can you could Google something along the lines, and you can make this up however you want. Scholarships for siblings with kids with cancer, scholarship for siblings with kids with CF, autism, whatever your diagnosis is. Scholarships for siblings with kids with disability, with the siblings with a disability. There are a ton out there. So it's crazy. It's crazy the scholarships that are out there, and the more weird that they are, the less people know about them, and the more likely you might qualify for it, right? And so I would just say be resourceful. I'm going to just tell you honestly, I did have all my spreadsheets, and I felt like an absolute madwoman junior and senior year when my daughter was a junior and senior. But I'm going to tell you, we worked hard. We had our plan, and we worked our plan. And she owes absolutely no one anything for college. She's graduating. She's got money in the bank, enough for a down payment on a house. And all of that work that we did towards those scholarships mattered. She has a disability. She's been sick, throughout her 4 years of college, very sick. And she still emerged. And so you can. And like I said, it's easy for somebody to talk about these scholarships out there when their kid is a genius and they're the top 10% of the class, which I know a lot of our families on the autism spectrum, their kid might be that person, and I'm happy. But we weren't there. Or your kid is a wonderful artist or musician or things like that. Well, we had that, nothing. So I'm just telling you, I just want to encourage you that you can, and your child can, and there are scholarships out there, and to get help for funding all of this, so nobody has to be in debt, up to their eyeballs. So for sure.
Thank you so much for all the information, Allison. It's a pleasure, like always. And I will send you guys an email with the slides, and probably tomorrow the link of the recording. So thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye now.